Welcome to Corpstruction, a show about the missions, activities, and employees of the Tulsa District U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Today I have with me Daniel Blake Cannon. He's a realty specialist with the real estate division here at the Tulsa District U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So Blake, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be here.
So we've got some big news. When this show airs, we're recording it on a Wednesday on September the 1st. But when it airs, it will actually be the publication of the notices of availability, right? For the fiscal year 2022?
22, yeah.
Fiscal year 2022 agriculture and grazing leases. Can you you tell us a little bit about that program?
Yeah, that's a program that it helps both parties interested, the public and the Corps of Engineers. And what that does is it allows each of the lake offices to select some areas of their land that are not utilized, or they don't have the funds to really manage a lot. It just kind of sits there, and the Corps owns it, but it helps us to be able to use those lands, put those out for the public to bid on, to be able to hay harvest or to cattle graze or something like that on it. And they are able to do that, and it helps cut down prescribed fires, things like that, costs for us, because they're able to help us to manage it when we can't afford to. So it's really beneficial to both the public and the Corps of Engineers.
And we've got, I think, 6. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have 6 this year.
6 this year that are coming out, and we will post those on our website once they actually they'll be posted by the time this is published. So, they'll be available under our notices of availability link on our website, which is at www.swt.usace.army.mil. And we'll also put those out on Facebook and Twitter and all the social media areas so that we can get as many bids as possible. So one of the first ones is we'll just start with the ones in Oklahoma, it looks like.
Okay.
So Fort Gibson, it looks like there's a notice of availability for Fort Gibson. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, the Fort Gibson lease that's going to be up for, it's going to begin, the lease will begin January 1st of 2022, and it is for 5 years, and there will also be an option that it may be renewed for an additional 5 years, and that is for grazing purposes. The land that will be available will be recommended 100 animal units, and it'll be for grazing for 4 months per year, April 15th through August 15th. And it's approximately 339 acres with approximately 366 acres usable. But there are a few less acres usable there, and it's located in Mays County in Oklahoma.
Okay. And when, like I noticed on this, I was looking at just the front page, because these are pretty big documents that we've got up there.
Yeah.
And the reason they're so big is because essentially you're downloading an application. Is that proper? Is that,
yeah.
Or essentially you're downloading sort of an application, right?
Yeah, pretty much. What's in that is it'll have a lot of information on how the bid opening will happen, how the bids will be accepted, instructions on that, kind of our basic A&G rules and regulations, and then there will be some maps of those areas that are going to be available, and some of the lakes also require special conditions to be done. Some of them may have some fencing that's down, so they would require the fencing to be built back up. And also, some of those require gates being built. Some of them want them at least brush hogged if it's not grazed or something like that, to help with mitigate fire, chances of fire, and help manage the area as well. And those, you can take those into your calculations when you look at getting a bid, how much that would cost you time-wise and equipment-wise to do those things. But it's also in there. It also has a copy of a draft of one of our leases, so you'll know exactly what you'll be getting into that
with
way.
The contract.
Yeah, with the contract. And it also has different forms that are required, federal requirements for us when we accept a bid.
Right, like they can't build like permanent structures on a leased land like that, right?
No, these are only some of them are for hay harvesting and grazing, and some of them are for hay harvesting or grazing, and some are just for grazing.
So, I mean, a rancher or someone, I imagine like sheep or goats or cattle or primarily some of the main
Yeah.
animal type grazing, right?
Yeah. I've been doing this I think this is my third year doing this with the A&Gs, and it's always been cattle, but I think in the past we have had some different animals, but usually it's cattle.
Yeah, I was up in Kansas a few years back, and I don't remember if it was around Fall River or not, but I think there was some grazing land in that area, out just outside of on the way to the lake. When I was driving down this road, I think it was Fall River, but it looked like they were grazing sheep.
Oh yeah,
I remember because there was like a sheepdog. There was like a sheep got out, and we kind of stopped to look at it, and the sheepdog came out, and he was watching us pretty like a hawk, And I was wondering if that was like, leased land or not. But anyway, they would bring their cattle or whatever animals that they have, whatever herd they have, out to the site, and then graze them there, and then they would typically take them back. Is that how it works, or would it typically work like they would leave them there overnight to graze?
Yeah, they would leave them there overnight. Generally, most of these leases are going to be for year round. The Fort Gibson one, like we talked about, is actually going to be a little bit different, with only allowing grazing from April 15th to August 15th. So they would go in on April 15th, turn their cattle loose, and leave them in there until August 15th, because most of what we have is they're just getting them ready to take to market. So they're just letting them grow up, farm up, and get fattened up, basically.
Get some meat on them and some fat on them so that you can sell them, right?
Yep.
And I guess I said Oklahoma, but we might as well. There's like one in from Kansas here, so I guess we'll hit John Redmond. So there's one, and the previous Fort Gibson one, and these numbers will be at the end of this. You'll see them on the link when you click on it for the notice availability document. It will be phonetically Delta Alpha Charlie Whiskey. And then the number is 56-9-22-005. So that will be at the end of the link that you click on. Now these are all sealed, right?
Yes, these are sealed bids.
So can you explain the sealed bid process, what that means?
Okay, so what you'll do is there is a bid form that has to be accompanied with your bid. And what you do is you take that bid form, you fill it out, which area you want to bid on, which lake you want to bid on, the amount, and I believe it's 10% on those checks. You write a check for 10%, at minimum 10% of your bid, and that would be placed in an envelope with your name, with no name on it, placed in an envelope, and then placed in another envelope that would have your name as you're mailing it to us and our address. And when we receive those, we will open the first envelope, but the other sealed bid then will be placed with the other bids and kept until October 6th, when we're going to do the bid opening, and then those will be opened.
So that first envelope that you have, or the outside envelope, is for mailing purposes, yes. And the second, and that basically ensures that we know that what we've got in the mail is an actual sealed bid, right? And then you just...
Yeah, and even on the address to us, we asked in the instructions on the NOA, it asked that you put A&G bid offer. Right. I believe it is what it is as you address it to us, so we can make sure we know what that is and not open that second envelope.
Now, there's a term here. It says offer deposit, and that's 25% of the annual amount offered.
Okay, yes, it's 25%. Excuse me, I said 10.
Oh, okay. Is that 25%. The same thing you were talking about?
Yes, it is. You can offer. You can go ahead and write a check for a minimum of 25%.
Okay,
and then that is once we go through our checklist of who the apparent high bidder is, we'll go through and make sure that the numbers are correct and that the bid has been an acceptable bid. It has everything that's required of it.
Okay. All right. So, we'll get to this next one, I guess, with John Redmond that I just delayed. So, can you tell us about this one? This one at John Redmond, Kansas, and that's John Redmond Reservoir in Kansas.
Right? Yep. John Redmond Reservoir in Kansas. It's actually located in Coffee County, Kansas, and it's for hay harvesting, and it is approximately 45 acres, and it is for 5 years, and it may be renewed for an additional 5 years as well. That one's pretty small compared to some of the other ones, but if somebody's needing some hay, a farmer's needing hay, that'd be a good place, a good area to bid on.
And about the size and basically what typically amounts come in, there's opportunities to get a pretty good deal to graze on a lot of land. I mean, depending on what the bids are, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's pretty good opportunity for that. We don't want to necessarily, we're not there to make any money off of it. We're trying to make sure that that land is managed even when we don't have the funds to maybe manage it ourselves. Like I said, we want to make sure that our boundary fences are up, so a lot of times they require the rebuilding of boundary fences to be put up. Sometimes they require brush hogging, like I said, to help cut down on chances of wildfires breaking out, things like that. So it really helps both of us. They're able to go in and harvest hay on these lands that maybe nobody's harvested on for a while, and also we get to be able to have them be managed and taken care of.
Is there a limit to the type of animal that they can graze on the lands that you're aware of?
Not that I know of. Everybody's always just done cattle as far as I know.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to bring in pigs for whatever.
Yeah, I might have to do some different calculations on animal units for that, yeah. But our standard animal units is for cows.
Okay. All right. So we'll go to the next one. And this one is for Newt Graham Lock and Dam 18.
Yeah, that one is going to be grazing or hay harvesting, and it is located in Rogers County, Oklahoma, and it's approximately 400 acres. And if you are going to graze it, you can do 40 animal units there, and it's for 5 years, and it may be renewed for an additional 5 years as well.
Okay. And then now you worked out of a lake office out at Hugo, right?
Yeah, I started at Pat May's Lake there in Powderly, Texas. Yeah.
All right, just outside of Paris, right?
Yep.
And so did you guys do any from Hugo and Pat May's, or did you guys do any grazing land out there that you ever offered up for the public?
Never when I was there. I think a few years before, seemed like the Corps kind of got away from doing grazing in the Tulsa District, grazing and hay harvesting and A&G leases in general. Kind of got away from doing that, but we've been trying to bring it back over the years and do that more. I know that they actually do have a hay harvesting lease at Hugo now, but they didn't the few years I was there. I was there for about 5-6 years.
Okay, so you never really encountered it as a ranger.
I did not.
Okay, all right. I was going to ask you though, what the benefits for us in people managing that land by letting the cattle graze it. You mentioned burns. Normally we'd have to go out and do like prescribed burn to keep the brush down there right at a minimum and prevent fires. Little fires prevent big fires. But in working on these things, I mean, what are some of the other benefits? I mean, for us, for the government in leasing out public property.
And leasing it out, cattle grazing also helps, and brush hogging. That also helps to, if you want to get technical with management, it would help take it back to a primary succession of the land, much like burning. Not quite as good as burning, but it'll help bring it back to a primary succession, which would be the natural grasses that would originally have grown there. And also helps with invasive grass species, help cutting down on those especially.
Will cattle eat a lot of those invasive species, or is it just the act of like the ranchers go out and throw seed out that for what they want?
A lot of times they'll spray. They'll spray to get rid of those because a lot of times the cattle won't eat those because of that, or some of them can be harmful. It just depends. But a lot of times the ranchers will come out and spray for those to get rid of them. Also, people that are cutting hay, they don't really want that in their hay, so they'll spray for them. So it's another benefit to both of us. It helps us to cut down on those invasive species, and they don't want it in there anyway, so it helps us both if they get rid of it.
Okay. All right. So this other one is down at Lake Texoma. Now, this is on the Oklahoma side?
Yes, this is on the Oklahoma side.
All right. Can you tell us about this? This one is Delta Alpha Charlie Whiskey 56-9-22-006.
Yeah, this is a grazing lease. It is located in Love County, Oklahoma. It has approximately 160 acres. 25 of those acres are usable for grazing purposes. That area has a maximum of 10 animal units, and it is for a 5-year lease and may be renewed for an additional 5 years.
Okay, so at the end of toward the end of the 5 years, I guess you guys send them a letter and say, "Hey, are you wanting to renew? I mean, provided there's no issues.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it gives and at any time the person that has the lease has the option to terminate the lease, and so the government also reserves that right as well if there is some problems or issues. I mean, if someone was grazing longer than they were supposed to be grazing, or grazing a lot more cattle than the land can support, things like that, that would be cause for termination. But generally, we don't have those problems. So after 5 years, if they would like to continue, and generally the price stays the same overall, we are open to them accepting that option to continue, and we continue along with them, and they can have that lease for 10 years.
Now, do you typically see the same sites come up for notices in the 3 years that you've been doing it? Or is it, well, I guess if it's 5 years, you wouldn't see the exact same sites. But do you know how many typically different ones are out there?
It just kind of depends on the year, how many they put up. I know I spoke with rangers that you follow before, and they are opening up some historical pastures that they used to have in grazing or hay harvesting in the A&G program, but they haven't used in years. And so they're trying to get back. As I said before, I don't think it was very well used in the past very often. And so now we're kind of getting back into it and using it more often. And so they're adding in more land almost every year, adding in new pastures that were historically maybe had an A&G lease, but hasn't had one maybe in the past 10, 15, 20 years.
Oh, wow. All right. So let's get to this. I think this is the last one. Did I skip something?
I believe we have two more. Yeah, I think we have Tenkiiller and Worcester.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. I knew you looked at me kind of funny when I was like, I named one of them, and you're like, I don't think that's the next one. All right, yeah. So Tenkiiller. We'll go to Tenkiiller.
Yeah, Tenkiiller is a hay harvesting lease. It is 49 acres located in Cherokee County, Oklahoma, and it is for 5 years and may be renewed for an additional 5 years as well.
Awesome. All right, and then this last one is Worcester.
Yep, Worcester. There's a grazing and or hay harvesting there, and it's approximately 152 acres, with 80 of those acres being usable. They request 8 animal units to be used there. It is located in LaFleur County, Oklahoma, and it's for 5 years, and it may be renewed for an additional 5 years as well.
Oh, awesome! So that's all the notices that we're going to have, or that are up on the website at the moment that this is published, anyway. So, can you tell us a little bit about real estate and what you guys do in real estate? Because typically, right, when people hear the term real estate, they think the companies that sell homes or commercial property, but you guys do a different sort of thing on a lot of what you do is leasing, right?
Yeah, it is. Basically, what I tell people whenever they ask me when I'm out at the store or something like that and get to talking about what I do, I tell them basically anything, any corporation, private person, government agency, anybody that needs to come across government property or Corps of Engineers property will end up coming through the real estate office eventually. Mm-hmm. We issue those real estate instruments, whether they be out grants like leases, oil and gas leases, agriculture and grazing leases, commercial concessions for marinas and stores. We have licenses for electric lines going to private boat docks. We have easements for electric companies, phone line companies, public roadways, anything that basically covers or crosses Corps of Engineers land, we will issue an instrument for it.
Oh, wow. Now, typically you have a real estate representative or real estate specialist, realty specialist at some of the bigger lake offices at least, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they used to have one almost at, I believe, every lake or at the area offices. Now most of us are located in the Tulsa District office. We do have 2 realty specialists at the Texoma lake office. They're kind of their own thing. They have more out grants than any of the other lakes.
Oh, really?
And so they're very busy. So they have 2 that are there on site all the time.
Oh, okay. And now when we also have a forestry program that was started up down at Hugo in the last about 3 years or so. Does real estate have a role in that program as well, or is that pretty much just on its own?
No, it's a lot like our agriculture and grazing. NOAs that we do and leases that we do. What our forester will do is he'll go out and select the plots of land that have the trees, and he'll kind of do evaluations for us on that, and then we draw up the paperwork. We do a public NOA just like we do for agriculture and grazing, and we do the sealed bid openings as well for those.
Yeah, and they'll go and they'll select certain trees that are that they're allowed to cut, right?
Yeah.
Like there's,
Yeah, he'll go through, I believe, and spray paint the trees to make the selections and decide about how many acres there are, and he kind of does some estimates so we can know at least how much it might be worth and kind of go from there when we get bids.
Oh, wow. So tell me about you. How did you end up in real estate? So you used to be a ranger. You were down at Hugo, at Pat May's, right? And then I guess, I say Hugo, but everything's kind of managed out of Hugo, right? Overall.
Yeah.
So how did you end up in real estate?
I did a TDY in 2017 at Texoma with a realty specialist now, Cindy Buchanan, down there. And I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being able to work in the office, but get out and go and look at the marinas and do inspections that we do. And no real estate action is ever the same.
Really?
No matter how simple it may seem to be, there's always be something that's a little bit different. And so it's pretty good. I like that it changes every day. And being a ranger, you're always on duty on holidays, and in the summer times we work nights and weekends and stuff like that. And as a realty specialist, we don't have to do that. So it's pretty nice, especially I was just starting a family at the time.
Okay.
So it's nice to be able to be home on weekends and holidays and stuff with my wife and my kids.
Now, our contracting office is really, really busy at like towards the end of the year or whatever. I know they have like an entire period of time where they have to spend all night like working, doing a lot of stuff. Do you guys have a rush like that toward the end of the fiscal years as well?
I don't think it's as big as their rush. Typically, we have, I'm trying to remember what our number is. We have approximately over 3,000 outgrants in Tulsa District that we do, and those can be anywhere from 1-year licenses, 5-year easements, to 25-year leases, to 50-year leases, and some of them are indefinite. But every year there'll be a new rotating number of things that are expiring, and we try to get those either terminated if they're no longer needed, or we try to get those renewed if they're still needed. And we have a backlog, is what we call it, those actions. So every year we try to get down to the few as possible, but there's some that we've been working on for years that doesn't seem like we'll ever be able to get them renewed or finished, but we keep working on those, and then the next calendar year we get a brand new set of those to start all over again on.
Yeah, it's just as soon as you're finished with one thing, a whole new one pops up, a whole new set of.
Yeah, we have all those that are able to be renewed or terminated, and then we're also getting in new actions every day from the project of new things that are needing to be added.
Somebody's got a good idea.
Yeah.
Program they want to create.
Yeah.
So how many people do you guys have down there in real estate?
Let's see. I believe there's around 20 of us in the M&D side, which is the side I work in, management and disposal branch. We do the leases and licenses for the civil works side of the Corps of Tulsa District. Also, there is an acquisition side, and they handle a lot of the military side. So they would do like Fort Sill and those places. But we handle just the project offices. And there's probably about, I think, 20 of us kind of at a given time. There's a lot of rotation in and out and different positions and hiring new realty specialists and other people taking other positions, but around 20.
And at the same time, so you're working on these, I guess, sort of lease contracts and everything, and the bid processes, and then you're also doing inspections on concessionaires and people who have out grant. You call them out grants, right?
Yes.
Right. So you're doing inspections as well to make sure that they're not violating any rules, right?
Yeah, we try to do those in the spring because we realize a lot of those they're what we call major out grants. The minors, the operations side helps us a lot with those. The rangers will go out and inspect minors, like an AT&T telephone line. If it still crosses us, they'll go out and look at it,
right
make sure
away.
It's held up, make sure it's not falling down, and so they inspect those. But the bigger ones we go out and look at, especially the marinas, is really what we go look at, and we'll inspect the state parks that we have that are leased out, things like that.
What as a ranger, moving into the real estate world. What prepared you the most for it? Was it that TDY or?
Yeah, it was. When I came from Hugo and Pat Mays, those lakes typically don't do any real estate actions. Like I said, I worked at Pat Mays and at Hugo for probably about 10 years total, being a ranger, and I didn't do any real estate actions in those 10 years. And then I decided to give real estate a try, and went on TDY and just learned. And I knew I did some TDYs at the other lakes with the Rangers, and I saw that they do real estate actions almost every day, especially Eufaula and Texoma and Keystone and Tenkiiller. Those lakes Rangers do that almost every day. And we talk about it in our Ranger trainings, how to go through, and if you were going to do one, what you do. And so it was good to be able to see the other side of it and to kind of put it all together. Oh, that's why they're teaching us how to gather this information. That's why, because the real estate department needs it when they're issuing this and going to put everything together so that they can follow the federal regulations.
Yeah, you guys, and when you're a ranger, you all do like a series of. You spend a little time in regulatory, you spend a little time in real estate, you spend a little time in some of these other. I know we've had rangers come and spend time in public affairs too, even if when we have developmental opportunities. But did you do the regulatory time as well when you were a ranger? Or?
No, I did. I did some shoreline management time with the rangers at Texoma, learning about the private boat docks, and I did some time with the recreation planners and operations. But I've been out of the ranger training program. I don't remember how long ago that was. It was quite a while ago. I think it's changed a little bit since I was in it. Seems like we have more come to real estate now.
When is your busiest time of year?
Our busiest time's probably beginning around March to about May, because that's when we try to do those compliance inspections out at the marinas. We know that their busiest time is the summer, so we try to come in right before they open, when they've got everything cleaned up and they're getting ready to go, so we can come in and inspect it and make sure everything looks good. They're following the regulations. And a lot of our regulations are not typical real estate regulations. A lot of that is basic safety type stuff. Make sure that if they sell gas at the docks, that they have all their signs are posted, the warning signs and things like that.
Making sure there's no electrical lines in the water.
Yes, yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, we check electrical on the docks to make sure that they have the GFCI plugs and that they are working properly and things like that, and to make sure that when the public does come out there that everybody's held accountable and everybody's trying to stay safe out there.
So, how much land do you guys oversee? Because we're a pretty big district. We've got, I know, millions of acres of land or whatever?
Yeah, I think we have like 1.3 million, it looks like, total acres. And the core, the real estate division, especially our civil works side, management disposal, we have 62% of that land is out-granted.
Wow.
And we collect yearly around $2 million in rent collected through all the different actions that we work. So it's a pretty big program.
Yeah. So what have I not asked you that I should probably have asked you? Because I know there's a lot of stuff of that I don't know about even in real estate.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. There's a lot. I mean, I'm pretty open to any questions, but yeah, there's a lot of things that we do. We touch a lot of things, and it's good. I would recommend the Rangers, if they can, come and do a TDY in real estate, because the Rangers are they're the first person in the step to getting an out grant with the Corps of Engineers. You talk to the project office. If there's anything you're wanting to do or have questions about, they start the ball rolling from them. And then real estate, it goes through from the park rangers up to the operations division here at the district office, and then to the environmental side of that. And at the very end is real estate. And so it's kind of good for them to see they're at the beginning and don't get to see any other parts, than to come to real estate to get to see all of it together there at the end and how it works out.
Do you have to ever spend time at like a courthouse going through records or?
I have a few times. Generally, we have pretty good record keeping, and we've done a lot of digitalization of all of our files and all of our tracts of land that we acquired when the lakes were being built. But sometimes there'll be something that's missing, and we'll have to go to a courthouse to try to find it. But generally, we have all that.
What's that like? Being at the courthouse looking for deeds and
for
deeds,
me,
right? Typically, it's
yeah. Well, for me, it can be a little weird because some of those files are so old they don't have digital copies of them yet, so it's not something they can just pull up on the computer. So they'll have to go, and then I'm still kind of new to it, so I'm trying to describe to them what someone told me what I'm looking for is called, but they might call it something else. Especially we do business with Texas and Kansas, so they don't always call things the exact same thing Oklahoma does. So it can be a little intimidating. It can be a little difficult sometimes, but we get it done.
There's a terminology. There's like a whole set of terminologies by state that varies.
Yeah, there are for everything, and then the people that work in Kansas, they don't know Oklahoma's terminology for I mean, even just basic things. And then in Texas, and then reading surveys, if you're trying to read a survey, if you've ever read an Oklahoma survey and compared it to a Texas survey, it's a whole different deal.
Really?
Yeah, Texas, they used a different survey system a lot of times than Oklahoma did, and when I was in college, we learned the Oklahoma way. And so that's the easiest way for me. I don't remember the exact survey system that they use, but I know Texas's is different, and it can be a lot harder to read sometimes.
Oh wow, I had no idea that it was that diverse in terms of.
Yeah, it just depends on what type of survey system they wanted to use.
Wow, and records change over the years.
And sometimes there were some stipulations in those when we acquired it. Mm-hmm. They would say, just for an example, maybe there was a tree that was special to the family. Maybe their great-grandparents met under that tree or something. And so when we acquired it, that was one of the stipulations was, don't touch this tree. Leave it alone. And so sometimes there's things like that in there, and sometimes they can be a little different. But I've heard of that one being in there before.
When are we doing the bid openings on these? Is it all going to be all on the same day?
Yeah, it's going to be all on the same day. We're going to do a pre-bid conference where if anybody has any specific questions about any of the land that's going to be bid on, they'll be able to ask those questions. We'll be able to try to get a hold of the project office. If they don't have a representative present, we usually try to get them to have someone present there to answer those, or we can answer the best of our knowledge, or we can answer the real estate side questions. We'll do that at 1:30 p.m. on October 6th of 2021, and then at 2 p.m. on October 6th, we will do the bid opening, and we'll announce the apparent high bidders for those.
And we're going to live stream that one again, right?
That's right. Yeah, we're going to try to live stream it this year as well.
Right. We're going to try to do 2 platforms this time.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
As you can tell, I'm intimately involved in this process. Yeah. So October the 6th.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
1:30 p.m.
And these need to be in by when do these all need to be in by? Or does it vary by each individual one, or is it all the same?
They need to be received by us in real estate before the bid opening starts at 2 p.m. on October 6th.
Oh, wow. So
so if you have to, I mean, you can come and drop them off in person with our security office. Just leave them there, and we can come and pick them up. Or if you'd like to mail them in, we do have that on the NOAs as well. It's easier to just mail it in. But if you want to come, you can come and do that.
Now, I noticed obviously you have different lake office points of contact listed on each one. Each lake has its own point of contact, and then you also have a different real estate division person on some of these. I don't know if some of these are the same or not, but
I think there's 2 of them that'll have the same person.
Yeah, I see you've got John Redmond. Mm-hmm. And Nikki's got a couple.
Yeah, she should have Newt Graham and Fort Gibson.
All right, and then Sarah down at Texoma, and she's down at Texoma.
Yes,
right?
she is. Mm-hmm.
But all those need to be. Do all these need to come into the district office?
Yes. We have on there to mail them to us. If they get mailed to the project office, then we have to have somebody from the project office bring them to us. But the instructions do read to send them to us at the district office.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So send them to the district office, or bring them or drop them off at the district office. And they need to be in before that bid opening starts at 2 o'clock. Right?
Yeah, we'll have somebody check our mailroom one last time right before 2 o'clock. And just in case there's anything that got put in late or something like that. But at 2 o'clock will be the cutoff. We will start opening, and then after we start opening bids, we make everything available to the public, so there's no behind the scenes. Everything's out in the open bid-wise. And so we won't be able to accept any bids after 2 p.m. on October 6th.
Yeah, it's like the Academy Awards almost.
Yeah.
And the winner is well, we don't even say the winner is. We just give you the numbers, right?
Yeah. Well, then we talk to them and make sure they understand. Okay, because a lot of these, as we said before, they do have special requirements, and so sometimes people forget that not only will they have this lease, but they might have to repair some fence, or they might have to replace some gates, or something like that. So when you're looking at those to bid on them, make sure you read the special requirements for each lease. Each lease will have something different, or they might have something similar, but generally they'll be just a little bit different. And so it's important that they look at those because we'll talk to you and make sure you understand that is going to be required before we both lock into the lease and sign it.
Yeah, and so I know in contracting when we have a parent
high bidder
or whatever, right? You have the apparent high bidder.
Mm-hmm.
Does that work the same?
Yes.
So it will be the apparent at the end of the day until it's all certified, official, and everything.
Yeah, and we go into that before we'll start opening. We'll go in to make sure everyone's aware that when we announce a winner, it is a apparent high bidder of a lease. And then we'll mention that we'll be in contact with you within the next couple weeks to talk to you and kind of get it ironed out.
And if you don't win and you come in, quote unquote, second, and the next person for whatever reason doesn't go through with the lease, for whatever reason, do you just go to the second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we had someone that bid on it, was the apparent high bidder last year. They looked at the legal description a little bit wrong, and it wasn't exactly the land that they were wanting. So they did not wish to go forward with it, so we moved down the line to the next high bidder.
Oh, awesome. Well, awesome for the person who ended up with it, not for the person who sent that in. But awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks for taking the time to come and I know you guys are busy, and to take an hour out of your day or whatever to come up here to Public Affairs and sit down and talk on a microphone for 45 minutes or whatever. I know that takes you away from what you want to be doing and need to be doing, but I really do appreciate you coming out here. And
no problem at all.
Is there anything that we need to make sure people need to know?
Just live stream. If you'll check our website, you can look at those notices of availability for each of the leases and each lake. And October 6th, 1:30 p.m. will be the pre-bid conference to ask any questions, and then at 2 o'clock we'll start opening those bids.
All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot, Blake. Have a great day. Please say hi to everybody in real estate for me.
Will do. Like I said, it's glad to be here. I listen to a lot of podcasts, so it's fun to actually be on one, be able to do talking on it. So
we're a fledgling operation, but we're trying to make it great, right?
Yeah.
Corpstruction is a production of the Tulsa District U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Public Affairs Office. This episode of Corpstruction was brought to you by the Tulsa District Real Estate Division. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.